Hey, yo, what's up? This is Ice-T representing for Hype Magazine. Stop playing.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Doby, and this evening I have an amazing pleasure for a man of my age to be talking to a young lion by the name of Chris Spencer, who is one of the amazing hosts of Vice TV's docu-series called Black Comedy in America. This is a new docu-series produced by Smack and She Ready, hosted by comedians Tiffany Haddish, Mr. Chris Spencer, who we have on the screen right now, and Ryan Evans. It premiered originally Tuesday, October 15th. And
Ryan Davis. Does it say Ryan Evans? Ryan Davis.
I thought I said Ryan Davis. I'm old with an accent.
That's
With
okay.
Ryan Davis. I get it fixed. I'm sorry, I apologize. The series explores the lore and legends of the Black comedy and offers a definitive look at the history and impact of America's most prolific Black comedians. Mr. Chris Spencer, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Man,
What's up, Dobie?
yes, sir. I am I am that cat. I love the fact that we're celebrating um, people and shows that were relevant and impactful in my growing up,
Mm-hmm.
from Richard Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm old enough to have been listening to Dolomite on the 8-track tape. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And Richard Pryor's Is It Something I Said was the first vinyl comedy album that I ever had the opportunity um,
Mm-hmm.
to try to put the headphones in and sneak on my
Right.
my parents' stereo, because I
All of
wasn't
us.
supposed.
When you see the show, you'll realize that everybody has that same story of sneaking and listening to those tapes or albums or whatever you had at the time.
Man, yeah, yeah, it was amazing. So, um, we got the regular line, but since I have you from the inside looking out, will you tell me how you see the docuseries, its meaning and importance in this day and age?
Well, we've seen quite a few documentaries on Black comedy, but none I don't think have gone in depth to talk about TV, film, and stage, going all the way back from the chitlin circuit to the kids nowadays who are killing on social media. And I think the importance of it is that the fact that we have three hosts from three different eras in comedy that take you on this journey, and you're going to hear, Ryan, who's in his 30s, and he's going to talk about he didn't see Eddie Murphy until 2006, or Tiffany, her experience and her rise to fame, but starting off, as a 15-year-old in a comedy camp at the Laugh Factory and seeing her heroes like Tim Reed and uh, Tom's last name, Tim and
Tom Arnold,
Tom,
Tim and Tom.
Tom
Okay.
Dreesen, who were, they weren't superstars when she met them, but they came with a legacy, and to hear their stories about being the first black and white comedy duo and playing the chitlin circuit, where they told Tom he could come through the front door, but Tim had to go through the back. Like, there's so many stories and so much insight that you're going to hear uh, in this docu series. Me being able to interview my peers. You know what I mean? Like, there was a time when I had more money than Kevin Hart, and now Kevin Hart once, used to stay on my couch and just hear, there would most of the times you hear about people being jealous and envious of how people who passed you up. I'm excited. I watched the entire journey, so it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic.
Was there a benchmark moment for you that made you join comedy, or the comedy just snatched you up?
Well, in college, I went to UCLA with your cousin, Monica
Yeah.
Dobie, and she was there at the the inaugural Chris Spencer shows. So a friend of mine, Sully McCullough, who you may have seen on the Jamie Foxx show, as well as Don't Be a Menace. He's been on the Tonight Show, Arsenio. He was around a bunch of people, and they were like, "So what do you want to do?" He's like, "I want to be a comic." And all the girls were like, "Oh my God, I love stand-up comedy. Oh, I love Eddie Murphy and Damon Wayans." And then they got to me, and they're like, "What about you? What do you want to do?" I was like, "Stand-up comedy." I saw the
Hey,
attention that he got, and that immediately catapulted me into trying to figure out what this thing, stand-up comedy, is all about.
okay. And how was your first experience
I
when,
actually killed. It was the
wow.
second one that let me go, let me know, okay, this ain't gonna be easy.
Mm,
And the third one
mm,
was like, yeah, you got lucky that first time, didn't you? And
yeah,
so uh I've never had, I've never done crack, but you know they always say you're trying to chase that first high. I find
right.
myself wanting that adulation, that excitement I got from that first time of hearing the crowd go, and it was only
And
26 people.
hey, but you know what? I have gone to comedy shows where there are two people. The comedians are hilarious, and I'm going, you guys are really missing out on
Mm-hmm.
on, on a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my first public speaking at a university. I was scared to death.
Right.
Like, surprised first that they wanted to hear me, and there was people there, and then second that the microphone worked. I was hoping that everything faded to black. That
Yeah.
like, so what was the most fun? I heard you say the adulation, and I always think comedians are on a power trip because you guys have the ability to walk us through a
Mm-hmm.
night and manipulate us and put us in a position where we can't help but laugh at ourselves, others,
Mm-hmm.
situations, and just let enjoy your pain as you've
Mm-hmm.
translated into this skit. Is
Mm-hmm.
that am I on point with how you feel? Is that
Yeah. Uh, and there is a certain arrogance that we have, that we are these puppet masters, and we're able to get you to move in certain ways. Um, One of my favorite things, and I learned this from Damon Wayans, and I noticed some of our favorite comedians are incredible at, like a Chappelle or a Pryor, is sitting in the silence, allowing me to bring the room to a hush and just talk and be
mm,
interesting. And then all of a sudden just go and toss the grenade and go, that right there is a high.
mm,
You know what I mean? A lot of comics
yeah,
when you're young, you know, you want to make sure they're still laughing, because if they're not laughing, I'm not doing well. I like to know that I am in total control. This is not a race car. Okay. This is your daddy's old Baritz Cadillac. And we're gonna go
mm.
35 miles an hour until I want to go 80 or 85 or 100.
Was this a simile with the stories that you heard when you talked? I mean, the first when you guys opened up with a real rare trio, you know, Steve Harvey said and DL all in the opening thing. When in those conversations, did they bring the same kind of similes when they talked about how it built? I understand we're talking about the cultural
Mm-hmm.
impact
Mm-hmm.
of black comedy in America. But one of the things, the nuances for me that I took from the story and the trailers is it was a survival skill
Mm-hmm.
applied en masse to an audience in a room, but the same survival skills that you were using to keep, the Jim Crow cats off guard. You know what I mean? And make it for through another day or across town to the place where
Sure.
from a rooming house to the place you actually had to perform that you had to go in the back door and but you weren't welcome to even travel through those
Mm-hmm.
sections. So survival skills. So keeping people off guard and reading them like instantly and
Mm-hmm.
how am I going to twist this so that I can make it? Was that a part of the conversations as you navigated these interviews?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody has similar stories and then totally different stories. You know, some people were the class clown. Some people were introverts. Some were extroverts. Some used it to get girls and alcohol and make them feel loose. Some people were natural storytellers. Some people had to work extra hard to really realize that they had this gift. So you're going to hear a lot of different perspectives on how some of these people arrived at comedy.
Okay. So we talked about comedy and television, and stand up. Totally different spectrums. You know, the other two are more controlled, and understand the higher level you get, the more you get to improv and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But can you talk to me as a layperson, because that's what I am, you know, about the levels and the differentiations in the presentation. So what I understand, you know, you got some physical comedians, and that comes out one way. You got guys that are, you know, like Mr. Mooney, you know, political, satirical.
Mm-hmm.
How do you develop those skills, and how do you deliver that? How did these guys develop the blueprint for the youngsters coming up? And who did you study?
It's all trial and error, right? Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours, all that stuff applies to stand up. You have to get on stage. And what I tell a lot of Black comedians is don't get addicted to one type of audience. So a lot of times, you know, young Black comedians only perform in a Black room. And then when it's time for an NBC, ABC showcase, and then now they're in front of a mainstream audience, they choke. They're references that our audience would get. You know, remember the time Lil Baby did this? And don't you hate when you put on Murray's Grease? Like, we know what that stuff is, but these people don't. So I tell them to get up in every room so you can develop an act that can travel. And then when you're in these certain rooms that might be more specific to a certain color, culture, creed, religion, then you can add these nuances to your act. You know, like some of the stuff that you do at, you know, the baby's birthday party aren't going to be the same at a church show. But a lot of those things can be similar if you work your craft doing both rooms. My heroes, Richard, Eddie, Damon Wayans, Carlin, Seinfeld, more currently, Bill Burr, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, D.L. Hughley, Mike Epps, Cedric the Entertainer. Like my peers, you know, we enjoy watching each other. We enjoy studying each other. There's other names you may not know, Owen Smith and Sidney Castillo and James Davis. There's a whole bunch of guys that are very, very, very funny out there. Ambria Allen, Zainab Johnson. There's, like comedy right now is at an all-time high. Like you're gonna see people start to rise that you're like, wow, how come I didn't know about this guy? And they're gonna feel like they're overnight sensations, but just know they've been grinding and grinding and grinding. Ali Sadiq. I mean, the list goes on.
Shout out Rodney Allen Rippey, whom I love coming up.
Take life a little easier. Yes.
Yeah. I noticed that it's kind of laid out, you know, in a logical series, and kind of describing eras. You know, you talk about the Chitlin circuit, and as the craft developed and the industry developed, and more Black comedians became an integral part of the fabric of entertainment overall across all the spectrums.
Mm-hmm.
When you were looking at and evaluating, you know, I'm getting ready to host this, and when you were doing your analysis, could you tell me how you felt the differentiation between like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Best Man and Def Comedy Jam, there's a differentiation there that maybe only a subject matter expert can really break down. Um, and I want to see how you thought about the phases and how it was laid out. The story, how the story was constructed, so to speak.
So when we thought of The Best Man being a part of this series, we were like, what is one of the greatest rom-coms in Black culture of all time? And this one, time and time again, when we polled people, was like number one or number two. And so the fact that we had a relationship with Malcolm Lee and Tay Diggs and Terrence and Nia and Regina, we're like they're our family friends. It was a no-brainer that they needed to be here. The Fresh Prince, what is one of the number one sitcoms of all time? Who has benefited more from a situational comedy than Will Smith? He's gone on to win an Oscar. He's got Grammys. He's a global icon. And so that was a no-brainer. And so what was the other one he said? 70, he said Will Smith, the Fresh Prince.
Def Comedy Jam.
Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah,
the greatest stand-up comedy show of all time. I'm not talking just Black.
Mm-hmm.
Often imitated, never quite duplicated properly.
Right.
Russell Simmons, Stan Lathan, Bob Sumner, I mean, lightning in a bottle. And so many superstars have spawned off from that show, from Bernie to Bill Bellamy, Chris Tucker, Adele Givens. Everybody you can think of today that's 40 years old to 60 either went through Def Jam or tried to get on Def Jam, but you had to do Def Jam unless you were already too big for Def Jam. But Def Jam was like the equivalent of getting the couch on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
You kill on Def Jam, you've arrived.
Talk to me about the mental comics.
Yeah.
Pryor and Chappelle being a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
They're deeper. They were deeper. You know, Pryor, of course, telling his life story, you know, coming from Tupelo through, you know, being raised in a whorehouse and the whole 9 yards, all that. And then Chappelle having kind of a parallel streets kind of story, but not quite that deep, but different phases, different eras, different lifestyles. But they're both the mental, and they set you up to make you think. Like some of the greatest lyricists, you know, those metaphors that hit you when you got to say, what the hell did he just say?
Right.
And then the memories come flooding back, you know, of the grandparents telling these stories, and you know, for Pryor. And then here's Chappelle talking about current socioeconomic and classism type of issues between you feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I guess my question would be, when you sat down and analyzed that, because I'm going to take advantage of you being here and we're going to get all the juice out the steak. I want to understand, you know, how you felt and what would be our takeaways? What would you recommend our takeaways to be from not only what these guys did in their separate eras, and Chappelle continues to do even now with the sensitive subjects, Pryor with drugs and whores and, you know, et cetera, and Chappelle with real life in the 21st century. How should we judge their deliveries and the stories that they told? What should we hold on to from each one of those in their concepts? Does that make sense?
I can't tell you what and how to feel. Just know that these are two masters at their craft, including Chris Rock. Although he's not in season 1, we're going to save him for season 2. And just know that if done properly, almost anything can be funny. Almost anything.
Right.
Comedy, I mean, tragedy plus time equals comedy. So there's got to be, you have to be a master like those guys to be able to talk about, George Floyd being killed and finding levity, but not necessarily levity, because if you watched 846, there really isn't nothing funny about it, but people think it's one of the greatest comedy shows ever. But the way he talks about it, describes it, his passion, his anger, his delivery of the 8 minutes and 46 seconds is powerful. When Richard Pryor says they don't kill cars, the police, talking about the police, they don't shoot cars, they shoot niggars.
Cars.
That stuff is still relevant today. Can you choke a nigga? Yeah, right here, page 36, you can choke a nigga. Like, yeah, it's tragic what they're doing to us. You know what I mean? But when you're a master like them, you're able to find. We've always been like that as a people. You know what I mean? Like, your mama joke started in slavery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking to people who probably were taken away from their mama, but we found a way to make some of the darkest times humorous. And that's a gift that we have as a culture. Because we've always been through it. We've always been going through it. And it seems like we're never, ever going to not be going through it. So we've got to find ways to entertain ourselves while we're going through this BS.
Once again, I fall back on the frame survival skills. It's I promised I wouldn't go there. So anyway, survival skills. I came up with and witnessed my father. We were doing something simple, just taking out the trash behind my mother's beauty salon, and this guy comes up and says, "What you doing, boy?"
What city was this?
Kansas. He was stationed at the Air Force Base in Kansas, and my mother had a beauty shop in a small town near the base. And taking out the trash for mom and washing the towels and all that stuff was cool. And this is me and my dad doing this together, and I that's how I learned to support my woman. Was living with him, and yeah, the guy says, "What you doing, boy?" The first time I ever thought I was going to lose my father. I'm a grown man, and you're going to find out. And I'm like, "Dad, that's a white man. They're going to kill us." I'm born in the 60s at the end of Jim Crow. When busing started, my classmate was Charles Smith, Brown versus Board of Education. I was a student at that school after Brown versus Board. So to hear him, and then he later on chuckled and he made a joke out of it, kind of like clearing his palate after a heavy meal, with some orange slices or pineapple. And he made a joke and he survived it mentally and helped me make it through. So
what was the joke?
I couldn't recall because he kind of internally, but then he went on to relate to me a story about a man calling his brother in Florida.
Wait, time out, 20 seconds. You can't just meander through stories. I got to hear the rest of the story. After he said, "I'm a man," what happened?
Well, he said, "You're about to find out."
And what did the white man say?
Well, he didn't have a chance to say anything else.
Oh, Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
We're in Kent.
Back
Okay.
to now.
So
Move on over to your uncle.
yeah, my uncle, he related that this had happened to my uncle at a gas station in Florida. They're from Tampa.
Mhm.
And a matter of fact, we have a section in Winston probably told you we have a section in Tampa, Florida called Dobyville. It's commemorated now by a plaque in a couple of schools out there. But a white man at a gas station was pumping gas, and white man called my uncle, boy, move, boy, I need gas, while he's pumping gas. He said, my uncle commenced to spray him with all he needed. And then he immediately left the state and joined the army and went off to Korea, the Korean War. He said, yeah. And he didn't return to Tampa except for to visit once in a while. And he snuck into town and snuck out because they were looking for him forever. And but survival skills, I think that was the point. The mental, the comedy being survival skills. What was the most fun for you in going through the process of doing this 10? This is the first 10 episodes, right? Okay. And so I'm hoping this is going to take me into my 70s because you guys, there's a lot to tell. What was the most fun? Yeah. What was the most fun? And hell, what did the writer's room look like as you guys were trying to put this together? I can't imagine, or I can imagine, but oh my God.
Well, you're looking at the writer's room. Myself, one of the directors, Leslie Small, another. These were directors actually that comprised the writers' room. Julian Gooden, Anthony Smith, my wife Vanessa Spencer. We were the ones that came together, formulated these questions, and a lot of it is freestyle. You know what I mean? A lot of it is here's a skeleton. These are some of the things we definitely have to get, but make it a conversation. Just like you and I right now, you have the things that you've written down, but this is just a free-flowing conversation. There were things you thought, this is what I want to know from him, but now that he's in front of me, I'm going to ask him this. Exactly the same.
Okay. I want to respect your time. I know you've been talking to everybody, they cat, uncle, and dog.
Yeah.
Because your team is massive. I love them over there. Is there a question that we as journalists have failed to ask you about this series and the creation of this epic docu-series that you wanted to answer, but we've yet to connect with and ask?
No. I mean, I could blame some other journalists, but I can't blame Dr. Jerry Doe because he's pretty thorough.
Well, thank you. You do wonders for my ego, sir.
I said the same thing to the other interview. So yeah, that's what I no.
Yeah.
No, listen, your questions are totally different than anybody's questions we've had. And Jean, she can come back on here and tell you, like, you really are a student of this. You know what I mean? To hear your stories, you're talking about Dolomite and Eddie, Richard Pryor, like you come from this. You know, we're about the same age. You got me by about 20 years, but it's a total it's totally different when you're of the genre and of the culture when you're asking these questions. You know what I mean? Like, you're not asking questions for your listeners. Jerry wants to know this stuff, and I can feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's different. Because I've been on interviews. So tell me about when Will Smith came on. All right. And then you got a chance to talk to Tay Diggs. What was that like? Like, you don't come from that. And it's great.
Nah, I used to run comedy clubs in LA. So Scruncho, AJ Johnson, all those cats were in my clubs.
Wow. Which clubs?
And
I must have been in there somewhere.
The Current Affair, Jeff D. Yeah,
it was like good.
Oh yeah. Lonzo Williams, who owned the Current Affair, was in my wedding.
Wow.
And I was the best man in his. I'm like really from that life. Wow. So Yeah. So
Got it.
these are questions that I've always wanted to ask.
You can tell.
Big
You
name
can tell.
comedians. And right here, I got Chris Spencer, you know, an iconic name in the industry. And my black ass was not going to pass up just, this is for me. It's my show.
I can feel it.
And people like me want to know these questions because I get asked, well, why didn't you ask this? And
Right.
Because the publicist usually has talking points. And finally I just said, screw that. It's my show. And, you know, my 4 million viewers. And I'm going to ask what I want to ask.
There you go, Jerry. Hey, you tell them, Jerry.
Yeah. I'm old too. What they gonna do? I can't outrun nobody, but I you know, I could.
What they gonna do? Cancel you in Brazil? You already ran away.
It can't, yeah, really, for real. I'm outro. I want to thank you for your time. I wish you peace and blessings.
Thank you so much.
I would love at some point if we could come back, you know, down the line once you're done with this, and let's just get into Chris Spencer because your story is fascinating. I can see behind your eyes that there's more than you're able to do on this junket. Get it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Black Comedy in America, new docu-series, Vice TV from the Emmy Award-winning international television network from Vice Media that originally debuted October the 15th. They're running this 10 series is running through 11/26. So there's a lot to catch up with. They already have run with the Steve Harvey piece, but look, you've got to look forward to Pryor, Murphy, and the capstone for this, the Our Roots, that covers everything from the Ruta to the Tuta. And
listen, we wanted to name it that. And it actually runs all the way until December 17th.
December 17th, I see that. My notes have changed. You see, the notes has changed, but that's all good. And you know, they're skipping the week of election week. So, but stand by. Please support. You have our support. You have my love. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for what you do for our community, the healing, the moments that you give us to escape. And I look forward to talking to you again. Till the next time, the Hype Magazine live sessions. Go check it out. Vice TV, Black Comedy in America. Don't miss out. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry Dobie.
I appreciate it. John,
that was literally probably the best interview he's done so far. I mean, that was so deep. Okay. That was so good.
Right?
It was fun. It's easy to do shit you love. I'm retired military. This is my second career, and this is what I actually love. So
love it. Well, thank you so much, Jerry. Chris, I know you have to go. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Jerry, we'll talk. And when you're in LA, hit me up so you can come see my stand-up.
I'm coming. I'm on my way home January. I'm there for NAMM.
Done. Let me know.
All right. I'll let Jean know that I'll be there. All right?
Okay. Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
Because I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
Because I'm black.
It's really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out to Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the Hype Magazine Network.